Hello, and thank you for listening to this short video about a Transcelerate initiative, how you can modernize your statistical environment. This is case study number 5, implementation of validation concepts. Before I begin, let me quickly tell you about Transcelerate. Transcelerate is a nonprofit organization. We were created to foster collaboration and charged with improving the health of people around the world by accelerating and simplifying the research and development of innovative new therapies. We are a membership-driven organization and passionate about designing solutions to address R&D's most complex challenges related to clinical development and drug safety. Founded in 2012, we have over 60 solutions being delivered across 25 initiatives, across 3 strategic priorities, 20 member companies, 30 initiatives, including 5 pharmacovigilance initiatives. If you'd like to skip this introduction, feel free to go right to the case study slides on number 16. This presentation today is a tool for leaders in biopharmaceutical companies and CROs who are seeking to modernize their statistical computing environment. It is for those who want to directly or indirectly influence their company's ability to apply the principles of our framework practically. It is intended for leaders and influencers in business units who use traditional analytical tools but are seeking non-traditional analytical tools for their enterprise analytics suite that allows for modern and innovative approaches to regulatory submissions. These techniques will help break through business as usual, and we encourage you to adopt and modify as much or as little of this tool as suits your needs. There is an undeniable need for cutting-edge technologies that can transform the analytical lifecycle through innovation. There is no specific requirement for analytical software. However, today we are limited to traditional software because guidance narrowly defines reliable software and pushes us to continue using dated technologies. The lack of guidance on software used in analytics is becoming increasingly challenging due to the emergence of electronic and digital data sources. For example, there has been a growth in wearable and electronic health data at both the organizational and personal levels. The size of the data is growing at alarming rates as data governance technologies emerge, resulting in the need for analytic capabilities that require multiple solution providers, traditional or non-traditional. And there is greater availability of advanced technologies such as non-traditional analytical tools that can offer more capabilities traditional software can't, such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, or natural language processing. Biopharmaceutical companies and CROs have heightened demand for software capabilities to address these needs in their regulated R&D environment. The framework for modernization of statistical environment is being presented today to address these deficiencies. Our framework comprises a set of principles that can be adhered to, build and maintain a modern computing environment that health authorities will find reliable and output of which can be used with confidence to support regulatory filings. The framework for developing a modernized statistical analytical environment, or MSA, environment applies to both traditional and non-traditional software. It demonstrates that the MSA environment produces accurate and reproducible results with documentation that traces those results to their lineage of dependencies for each output. This end-to-end control based on ART, which is accuracy, reproducibility, and traceability, will provide health authorities confidence in the reliability of efficacy and safety results for new drug candidates in regulatory submissions. It is important to note while the foundational principles of the framework, accuracy, reproducibility, and traceability, are specific and required for the modernized statistical environment, the particular implementation of them is entirely the purview of the respective organization building it. This presentation today shares general proposals or best practices to help your organization implement a reliable, modernized statistical analytics environment. Accuracy, reproducibility, and traceability are core tenets of the framework that delivers a reliable MSA environment. They cannot do this as a standalone concept. They must be integrated together cohesively. This integration begins by identifying a program's output intended purpose. Processes to appropriately tag programs executed within the MSA environment with an intended use are tagged. Tools to scan programs or program logs should be developed to identify libraries used and assess the risk level to align with the allowable risk level for the intended use. And quality control processes to scan all outputs from an MSA environment should be established to ensure programs use appropriate software libraries. This slide points out a few steps for using the MSA framework. 1. Check out the infographic. 2. Learn more and read the framework. 3. Use the case for adoption to socialize the framework with appropriate stakeholders to create momentum for implementing these types of environments. And 4. Provide feedback or implementation stories to Trancelerate. Effective collaboration with stakeholders is critical in moving forward on creating these modern statistical environments. Namely, when new technologies get introduced to environments, it's typically not in a vacuum, rather, it's built onto existing environments. There are various roles involved in moving these environments forward, both within the statistics organization and within IT. Here is a brief description on how the roles work together to advance the statistical computing environment. 1. Statisticians. Statisticians will work together with programmers to vet and define which new programs will be added to the environment. 2. Programmers. Programmers will work together with statisticians to vet new software, but also carry out specific validation efforts as it relates to specific use of new software. 3. Clinical quality. Clinical quality will provide regulatory oversight in guaranteeing the tools remain compliant for use. 4. IT. IT will take commercial off-the-shelf or COTS solutions and install them into the server environments. Additionally, they will work closely with engineering to develop streamlined or automated processes for these deployments. 5. Engineering. Engineering will work with IT to custom configure the commercial off-the-shelf solution. Additionally, they will work with statisticians and programmers to guide the use of the new tools for building things like automation pipelines. And maintenance. Once the new tools have been deployed, a maintenance competency will be needed within IT to manage maintenance and upgrades to the environment. Here are the phases of implementing the MSA framework model. It starts with pre-planning, design, implementation, and production. We have identified the considerations involved in each phase, along with key stakeholders and challenges. The legend on the left groups the stakeholders into two buckets, core stakeholders and tech stakeholders. Additional stakeholders are listed in each phase. This case study environment is used for use in the pre-planning phase. The case study participants' environment was separated by statistical and computational departments, so they established a new group and quickly became aware that they needed to take a new statistical analytics tool language into account. It was difficult to find people with skill sets in computational software tools, as they were all trained in previously used software such as SAS, so the company had them trained in the new statistical analytics tool. They could make improvements using the alternative tool in non-controlled environments since the preferred commercial software was not available, but it was the question of cost and licenses that was part of the decision. The goal was to include other like software so they can become interchangeable in the future. Here are some things to consider when using this case study. Have awareness that open source analytical software like R and Python have become standard at universities, whereas commercial SAS software is used for clinical development. Source analytical software can help to optimize synergies and to minimize training efforts of new talents to use older software such as SAS. Analytical software is expected to be interchangeable in the future, also keeping costs and licenses into account. And a validated new statistical analytical tool such as our environment was established by statistical and computational departments using a commercially supported version of that tool. The validated environment has not started to be used for submissions by this case study participant. These tools were selected because they would allow the case study participants to create customized software solutions that address their current problems and should have reduced training and ramp-up time. As the technologies continue to evolve in the future, more digital data and external databases will be used and investigated by data scientists. These modernized platforms will be used in studies and new hypotheses to fund basis for new products being advantageous in the research area. In this study, additional benefits were found that it double checks the package fulfill requirements. It gives a snapshot if CRAN contains all the dependencies required in the packages, and it tests scripts for all the packages that are run after installation in the production environment. From the challenges faced during this process, the case study participants became much more aware of problems that the software had and what kind of problems could be solved. It also helped them to see issues through a different perspective and offered additional ways to fix them early on, so there was less compromise later in the process. Problems are new within the past couple of years, and many companies working with similar analytical tools such as R and other software tools are trying to get the software in a validated state. This case study's participants applied the steps of the framework to demonstrate validity, which was presented when the initiative was established. It would be best to involve technical people now supporting the platform. This case study group has not used this framework for any submissions. This framework is the result of a year-long collaboration to accelerate the use of new tools across the biopharmaceutical industry and within analysis and reporting competencies for these companies. Broadly, there is a larger cultural shift happening where there are innovations happening at an accelerated pace with software used for statistical analysis. While companies must address risks and delay use of these software capabilities, there is an opportunity cost which ultimately impacts the ability to bring drugs to market faster. Additionally, these innovations can only be leveraged across our industry if the health authorities ultimately find that these capabilities produce reliable results. This framework and these best practices give industry an approach for demonstrating to the health authorities the reliability of analytical software, including those that have recently emerged on the industry's horizon. By working together to build the health authorities' confidence in the software, we will facilitate the modernization of our statistical tools. We only stand to gain from accelerating the industry's transformation. In general, organizations must adopt a more malleable approach to their operations, including the use of frameworks like this to help with the industry's transition to more modern computing solutions. Each organization will have to decide on its own their appetite for change and balance these associated risks. From the field of statistics at large to the individual study teams, embracing this culture shift will be critical to the success of modernizing analytics. You can see the latest updates on the Transcelerate website. We would like to hear from you. Find our Modernization of Statistical Analytics Engage with Us forum on the Transcelerate homepage, where you can share additional feedback. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for watching.